Reese. Is edit on release better on or off?
Reese.
Should I use edit on release? Should I use edit on release? This is a setting that some of the fastest competitive players in the world use, like Peterball and Bolts, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you should use it. Now, there are 3 components to editing: selecting the build piece, selecting the tiles, and then confirming the edit. Say you play keyboard and mouse and you want to edit a wall. You press your wall bind, press left click on the mouse to place the wall, then click F to select the build piece, just assuming that is your edit. Then you use the right click again to select the tiles, and finally you press F to confirm the edit. Now, if you've never used edit on release, rather than pressing your edit bind for a second time, you just unclick, which will then confirm the edit automatically. So it's pretty simple. Edit on release prevents you from having to press your edit button twice and is a little bit more time efficient. Now, you might not think does this deserve an entire video? Are you just doing this for the views, for the money, for the fame, for the success? Yes. But on top of that, there's actually 6 massive factors you need to consider about editing, because this actually changes a lot about how your mechanics actually are. The first is the way you place builds. With edit on release, most people only seem to think about confirming the edit, and that's the only thing that actually changes. But placing builds after you've edited is also massively impacted. With edit on release off, your left click is being held down to select the tiles. So when you confirm the edit by pressing F, you can just place any build bind you want immediately after this, and any of those builds will place as soon as you've confirmed an edit. This works since you're selecting the tiles with your left mouse button, and then you're still holding this down when you press confirm. So that's also the button to place builds. So essentially you can then just place any build bind and it'll immediately place. However, with edit and release on, your finger has to leave the mouse to confirm the edit, which then means that in order to place builds, you have to click it back down again afterwards. This can cause a bit of a delay between editing and then building and piecing afterwards, which can be seen here in this clip from Bolts, as when you slow it down to 0.25 times speed, you can visually see the delay between him editing the wall and then placing the cones afterwards. Compare that to this clip from Vico, who does not play edit on release, where you can see immediately after his wall is edited, he places a cone on the other side with 0 delay. I mean, it's like the minimal amount of delay that you'll get in a tournament. And this clip too is also really interesting, as the ability to immediately build after editing allows Vico to both edit his ramp and then still hold the wall from the other player who's trying to pressure him. Now, if you watch his like 100% speed, you'll probably never notice this difference at all, but it is definitely faster to piece after confirming an edit with the setting off, making piece control a bit easier. If you use edit on release, this is something you can train, but learning to unclick and then re-click at the right time will always be slightly slower than having the setting off and just having the click held the entire time. I'm not going to get entirely into this tangent right now, but that's actually why I use right click to select tiles instead of the left click, as this means I can pretty much just hold down the left click at all times and place builds, confirm immediately after, whilst using edit on release, because I'm selecting tiles with the other finger. I said that horribly, but I hope you understand. Now, this is not something I'd recommend, as this takes far too long to learn, and it has a lot of bugs, like you'll sometimes automatically hold down your aim down sights after you confirm an edit, which, by the way, Epic, if you listen to this, I know you watch these videos, I know you do. I've reported this like 100 times, so if you could be so kind as to fix this, so when I confirm an edit, I don't have to just stare at someone. That'd be great, thank you. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend this. It's not the best way to work around it, and it's really difficult to actually get used to. This entire section, by the way, is not an issue if you play controller, as there's no build place button, because builds just place automatically when you press whatever bind you have. Which, by the way, would be a pretty cool setting for keyboard and mouse as well, so you don't have to just hold bind all the time. So another one for you, Epic, there you go. So with this in mind, is edit and release actually faster? Well, yes. Almost everyone will confirm that edit and release is faster overall, and that's why I use it. I think it's fun, it makes you a little bit faster, so that, for me at least, is enough reason to switch to it. For single edits, it's not really that much faster, but when combining multiple together, that's where things get tricky. To do a double edit on a cone and a floor with edit and release off, you have to press your edit bind 4 times. So in order to do this, the actions go like this. You first select the build, then you select the tiles, then you confirm the edit, then you release your left click, then you select the second build, then you select the tiles again, then you confirm the second edit, and then you either piece or pull out your shotgun. Now this in total is 8 actions. I held up 6, but it's 8. There you go. However, with edit and release on, you select the first build, select the tiles, confirm the edit by releasing the click, so this combines that into 2, select the second build piece, then select the tiles, then confirm the edit by releasing the left click again. And then you can either piece or pull out your shotgun again. Now this is a total of 7 actions in comparison to the 8 of when the setting is off. Now keep in mind that 4 of the 8 actions are also pressing the same key, the edit key, and it only makes sense that edit on release will be significantly faster because you're not trying to spam the same key over and over again, which means you're essentially limited by how fast and accurate you can hit that one button. Now there is a forgotten workaround for this, which can make editing without edit on release as fast as using edit on release, and you don't have the negatives of not being able to unselect your tile, and that is actually triple edit binds. Now I could be wrong, but I do think this is what Raider 464 uses. I haven't checked, so I'm not really sure. I think he used to. I remember him talking about it at some point. But this is where you have a separate bind for confirming the edit as you would from selecting it. This can be done by using a mouse side button to confirm the edit, but because everyone should and does use scroll wheel reset, this means you already have this bound to 2 separate binds. So to have a triple, the third edit bind there, what you need to do is actually use key mapping software to change it to something like your mouse side button, because then you have 3 ways to confirm the edit. So essentially you press F to start the edit, and then this side button to confirm it. Now this means you can be much faster because you're not hitting the same button with the same finger over and over again, but to be honest, this is just really difficult to get used to, and it's probably not worth it because one of your mouse side buttons is really valuable for mechanics anyway, like pulling out your shotgun or one of your build binds, and I don't really think this is worth switching to, again, similar to my right click select tile edit. So edit and release is definitely faster, there's no question about it, but this extra speed actually comes with quite a few negatives. This is because edit on release makes it much more difficult to make safe edits. Now, if, as the kids say, you are moving, you're much less likely to try and make a good edit, and instead you'll often just make a play that's just the fastest edit that you can make because you're just basically running off of muscle memory. Now this might look cool and more importantly feel cool. Let's be honest, there's no better feeling than like a full box 200, but this muscle memory can lead to really bad plays when you're facing an actual good player, as basically any decent player can just get easy damage off on you if you make a bad edit, no matter how fast it actually is. So edit on release can often lead to very easy mistakes if you're not careful. People often say that you can't make good peaks when you're using edit on release, but this just isn't true. It's actually just more difficult and requires you to actually put a lot of practice into learning it. With edit on release off, you can freely move while selecting any tiles you want. So it's very easy to position your character safely behind the build before you confirm the edit. However, if you're using edit on release, moving your character will also move your crosshair over other tiles, which can make you fail the edit. The workaround for this is that you must keep your crosshair over the tiles you've selected as your character moves. Say you're going to do a middle window and you're standing in the middle of a box. As you swing your character to the left, your crosshair must stay over that center tile. Now, this is doable, but this is incredibly difficult muscle memory to build up and it feels really unnatural. Now again, the best players do this really well, as shown here by Bolt. He swings to the left on the ramp as his crosshair stays over the top line of the stair, and then he confirms the edit when he's in the right position. This is actually a real downside for controller players, as this is just way more difficult to do. Since most people have a higher build and edit sensitivity, and there's no edit aim assist, from what I can see. I think they've removed this setting, I'm not sure. Sucked anyway, I'm not gonna lie. This means it's much more difficult to keep your crosshair precisely tracked over a small amount of tiles whilst moving to the side. Now, this is not impossible, but in a high pressure situation, the likelihood of most players actually doing this is just really minimal. Now, a workaround for this is to move your crosshairs off of the tiles entirely, depending on which edit you're doing, as shown here. This allows you to swing far behind a wall and place your crosshair pretty much wherever. Interestingly, while doing this, you can actually spin a full 360 around and still hold these tiles as long as you don't let go of your select tile button to confirm the edit. Now, this clip from Vico is done using edit and release off, but the same thing can be done with the setting on or off, it doesn't really matter. This is just a good example to show how you can do this to still swing and get a really good peak and be safe whilst using edit and release. For an interesting note, this is also how you do the best edits of all time, the double window or the window and door while using edit and release, because you can actually move your crosshair all the way around the build. So I know you're all ready to switch to edit and release just because of this fact alone. Now, as I mentioned, if you're using edit and release, there is a high likelihood that you're going to make a lot of 50-50 bad edits. It's just kind of in the nature until you've built up and gotten used to it. So that's why understanding resets is so important for people using edit and release. So because it's more likely that players with edit and release are going to make bad edits, what you can do is make a bad edit and then realize you've made the bad edit, scroll will reset to reset the edit, which will bait out the other player's shot, and at that moment you'll be holding your wall. Then you can just re-edit it and just get some guaranteed damage on the other player because they can't shoot their shotgun again. Obviously you can do this with edit release on or off too, but the likelihood is you're probably going to make much worse edits with edit release on, so this is just a bit more applicable. Now this is actually probably a really good time to talk about the reset feature of edit on release. Now there's 4 different settings here. You've got off, what are they? You've got off, edits, reset, and then both. Now if you play keyboard and mouse, just don't use the reset feature. It's so bad. There's pretty much zero benefit when scroll wheel reset exists. And if you want to reset a floor and jump into cone, it just makes this infinitely more annoying. I don't see any benefit to this. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. If you're on controller, because you don't have a scroll wheel, unless you're a filthy macroer, I'm looking at you. Now, basically what this means is all you need to do is press your reset button and it will instantly reset rather than pressing and then confirming it. So it's basically one less button every single time you want to reset. The good thing is that if you don't actually want to play edit and release, you can still use this setting for the resets as it just makes everything much quicker and it makes a lot of sense. But this then brings up another really important part about editing, which is crosshair placement. Now, if you have an opponent on the other side of a wall and you're trying to edit and shoot them, ideally you want to place your crosshair over their head before confirming the edit. This means that once you confirm the edit, you won't have to flick your crosshair all over their head, giving you a much easier time to hit shots because you're not just doing random flicks. With edit and release off, this is really easy to do as you simply move your crosshair before clicking confirm. However, with edit and release on, you may not be able to move your crosshair without messing up the tiles. Now this is really true when you're doing a peanut butter edit, as you want to ensure your player is positioned behind the wall to the left and close up to the wall, but from this corner, your crosshair will more than likely be very far off of the other player. This forces you to make a massive flick to hit a shot. This exact scenario is made infinitely easier by turning edit and release off, as it's really easy just to select the tiles, position your character in the correct place, move your crosshair over to the opponent, and then confirm the edit and go for a jump shot or whatever you may want to do. Another bonus editing crosshair placement tip that has absolutely nothing to do with edit and release is that you want to learn how to do 3-tile corner edits from both sides. This is because with the peanut butter, for example, often when you start selecting it from the top and pull down to the right, your crosshair is left at head height, again making it easier to hit shots. However, there are often situations where the other player is above you and it makes more sense to select the tiles the opposite way because your crosshair will be closer to their head there. Plus, there's often some scenarios where you can't actually select the right tile, so you have to pull it from the top and you need to be proficient in both. Now, the final consideration for if you want to switch to edit on release is actually your ping. I know, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments on this. There always is. Now, basically, if you play higher ping, there's not going to be as much of a benefit from the speed that you're going to gain from using edit on release. So you're basically much better just practicing good peaks and not turning it on at all. Now, I don't know exactly where the point is where you're no longer going to benefit from it. 50, 70, 100, 150. I know there's someone out there who's going, I play 600 ping. Should I use edit on release? Probably not, mate. Probably not. But at some point, you're going to probably notice that there's not much of a benefit in terms of speed from using it, so don't turn it on if you've got rubbish ping. Basically, try it for yourself though, see if it makes you faster if you're going to actually switch to it. If it doesn't make you faster, don't use it. It's just not better. Now, many people think edit on release is the reason why some of the Fortnite pros are so fast, they can edit so consistently, but there's actually a lot of other reasons that are not edit on release that make pros much better at editing and way more consistent. Firstly, if you're trying to edit a wall, but you've just placed a lot of different build pieces, say you've placed the wall and then the cone afterwards, your edit will try to select the cone instead because you have the blueprint out for that specific build piece, not the wall. So to prevent this, a lot of pros switch to their shotgun before editing to ensure the build piece they're looking at actually gets selected. You can also just shoot faster after editing if you already have your shotgun out, as this minimizes the delay. When it comes to selecting tiles, pros leave as small of a gap between selecting the edit and then selecting the tile. This drill here, where you select an edit and then the tiles as fast as possible, then you hold this for a moment before confirming it, will train you not to mistime this. And it's something I do in almost every single warm-up, and I guarantee you will immediately have more consistent edits if you practice this. And finally, a lot of people mess up their edits because they either confirm the edit before selecting all the tiles, which the previous drill will already help you with, or they press a build bind before they click confirm on the edit. Now, to prevent this, do this drill here where you place a wall, edit a window, and then place cones below and above to train the timing of confirming the edit and then placing a build afterwards. And since you can sprint at the same time as editing, it makes a lot of sense not to have your sprint bind as the same finger as you use your edit bind, which is more than likely going to be your index finger because that's what most people edit with. This means you can basically press sprint and edit at almost the exact same time and get out of the box much quicker. So the final question, should you use edit on release? Now, there are several downsides to edit on release, as I mentioned throughout this whole video, but it does make you faster. So my general recommendations are to not use edit on release if your mechanics suck. If you constantly make bad peaks and you have absolute no piece control, couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. Focusing on editing faster is just entirely pointless. Mechanical speed isn't even close to the most important part about fighting. So first, focus on the things that actually matter, like making good peaks, making good edits, covering your angles, hitting your shots. Way more important than editing quickly. And as I mentioned, editing quickly might actually make those other factors worse for you if you're trying to learn too many things at once, or if you're trying to go too fast. Then, if you feel like you're really good at these and you want to increase the speed because you're actually going to get something out of that, then it's worth switching to edit on release, in my opinion, when you already have good habits built up. Players like Bolts and Peterball aren't good because they use edit on release. Edit on release is good because they are good at fighting, and then it speeds them up and makes them really difficult to fight. Or if, like me, maybe you just find it fun to be a little bit faster. That's why I have it. I still make a lot of mistakes, but I find it fun to be a little bit quicker. If you're interested in myself and Destiny's Jesus' fighting masterclass, you can click the link right down here. 150 videos. It's amazing. Code resub for 20% off, and you help support your boy. Or if you want to see which edits you should never do and which are overrated, you can click this video right here. If you don't click it, I'm going to fight Pikachu.